The United Airlines passenger arrested this week for threatening to stab a flight attendant in the neck during a flight from LA to Boston was just one of several scary moments aboard a flight in the last week.
Well, tell them to bring SWAT to shoot me down, because they're going to have to shoot me down today. Remember that. Where are they diverting us? Because wherever it is, there's going to be a bloodbath everywhere. You can run away. You can all run away if you want. If you're men, you can run. I won't kill you. My Balthazar. You can put up your hands and say, don't kill me then, or don't approach me, because I'm Balthazar.
That is a nightmare. The 33-year-old man is accused of trying to open the emergency door mid-flight. Also this week, a Southwest flight out of Havana had to return minutes after takeoff because of a bird strike that caused an explosion that sent smoke into the cabin. There was also a mid-air collision between two small planes in Florida. 4 people died. And then there was the tarmac collision at Boston Logan between 2 United Airlines planes. The right wing of one plane struck the tail of another. And in Connecticut, one person aboard a private jet died after the plane experienced severe turbulence. The head of a pilots union today said that after 6 recent near-airplane collisions, the system is, quote, under stress. Joining us to try to make sense of the numbers on this to see if there's a trend here, our senior data reporter, Harry Enten, joins us. So what does the data show?
Yeah, so look, the FAA is essentially, the official data only goes through the end of January, but we know that there were 3 of these quote-unquote near collisions, right? That's significant potential for an accident. Now, look at the trend going back to 5 prior years. How many essentially of those near accidents occurred per month? 0.4. So we're looking at something between about 8 and 9 times the normal number. And of course, in February and in March, we've had 3 or 4 more that haven't been graded yet by the FAA, but the trend line seems to be continuing. So it's not just our imagination.
But is that a trend line just based on the month of January?
It's a trend line based on the month of January, but it also seems like a trend line based on the month of February, right? If we had just had January, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. But based upon what we're seeing in February, it looks like we're seeing a continuation of the trend that started in January.
What about turbulence?
Yeah, so turbulence, obviously, we've had some scary stuff that's been going on. And, the data on that's a little bit trickier to understand. But we have tracked turbulence from 2009 to 2021 on commercial airlines. And we know that the quote unquote serious injuries were about 2.3 per year, 2.3 per year. Then look at December of 2022. There were 11 serious injuries on just 1 Hawaiian flight. And then in March of 2023, we had 7 hospitalizations on just 1 Lufthansa flight. So we're running well ahead of the sort of normal average that we would be expecting per year in just 1 incident in December and potentially another one in March, though those were hospitalizations, not necessarily serious injuries.
Also, those were just one flight.
Yeah. This is one flight. This is one flight in which you had 11 serious injuries versus 2.3 per year. So we're talking about one flight covering, what is that? That's more than 5 times or 4 times the amount that you see in a year normally.
On the close calls, why would there be more close calls in January and maybe even...
Yeah, I think there are essentially 2 things that are going on here. Number one, we're seeing a lot more air travel than we're used to over the last few years, right? We had the COVID pandemic. Airlines weren't out and about as much. And if you look right now at the number of airline passengers that we're seeing, we're basically back to pre-pandemic levels. So that's one thing that's going on. But the second thing that's going on is we have a lot of new pilots who aren't necessarily trained on sort of these busy runways that we used to see, especially pre-pandemic.
And the unruly passenger incidents, what do the numbers show?
Yeah, so this is the one bit of good news, right? I feel like I've been doom and gloom all this segment, which is not my natural state of being, but the numbers are the numbers.
Really?
And I knew. Who knew, right? I like to be jovial, right? Okay. So I do have good news, which is we have not had a single fatality this year. We haven't had a single airline fatality on a commercial airline flight since 2020. And more than that, the number of unruly passengers, we've actually had a below average number. So yes, there are these incidents that are scary, but the fact is the numbers show we're actually pretty much in line, if not below line on that particular metric.
That is good. Harry Enten, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.